Hey everybody, how's it going? This is OurHouse21 here, and I'm about to launch into a pretty interesting new series of videos. And specifically, I'm going to be showing the full process of how you do a bearing swap for a Slash LCG based vehicle. And I say Slash LCG, but there's an entire family of vehicles based around the Slash LCG platform. You know, there's all the Slashes, so the Platinum, the whatever, you know, just going down a list. But then there's also the Rally. And then there's also quite a number of things that guys like I just do that are completely custom. So the Slash LCG platform is very durable, it's very reliable, and it's got, I mean, this thing is about as versatile as you can get. So underneath the extra bracing and everything, you know, this is the, you know, this is the core of Dizzy. And I've got Rally front bumper on it. You know, I've got a modified Rally rear bumper. I've got an extra chassis brace, but still underneath is still a Slash LCG. And got this thing right here, and that will be talked about in the future. But right now, play it no mind, it doesn't exist. So, just kind of giving you an overview of what we're going to be doing here. The guys at Boca Bearings were nice enough to send me a set of their yellow seal ceramic bearings for me to put into the vehicle and do a benchmark of stock bearings versus their bearings, and see if I can get a measurable difference of how much of an energy savings or how much more efficiently the ceramic bearings would be in this type of application. So as my end of the deal, I volunteered to make a video to go through and show the entire process of how you dig into this guy and how you change these bearings. Now, the other nice thing about the Slash LCG platform is it's still a Slash, and Slashes are actually really nice to work on. And that's primarily because the vehicle, you know, they spend a little bit of time trying to figure out how to make it serviceable for the field and on the track. So the Slash actually comes apart pretty easily, where the front clips and the entire front mechanism, including the differential here, comes off as a unit. Same thing happens in the rear, where the rear comes off as one big chunk, and then you're left with, I guess, the core of the chassis. And the front is secured by a total of 5 screws, and the rear is secured by 4. Now, given that this car has some upgrades, I've got a little bit more to deal with, because I've got the sway bars in here, so there's a couple extra to take care of there, front and rear. And then I also have my additional bracing, which I need to take off, which allow it to come off. But still, we're not talking about a huge amount of torquing around here. So that makes it, you know, pretty easy to service. So before you get started, though, you know, you do need to go ahead and set up your tools to get yourself ready for the job. And you know, for me, one of the nice things about the Slashes, again, is that they make it fairly easily to service. So this guy right here is actually the stock Traxxas Slash toolkit, and inside you'll see there's a few drivers. There's a 2.5 millimeter, a 2 millimeter, and a 1.5, and those are the sum total of the drivers you would actually need to do this, or to work on here. Then you also need a 7 millimeter driver in order to get off the wheels, which they have in the kit right here, which also, you know, they're the Traxxas multi-tool. But as far as servicing the bearings, that's about all you need. So you see how often I use this. This is still in the original packaging, so I'm just going to set that aside. So for my purposes, I have, you know, a nice dynamite toolkit for the Traxxas models, and this guy has, you know, in it, you know, the 1.5, 2 millimeter, and 2.5 millimeter drivers. And as you can see from the wear here, I use these guys a lot. But also, you know, well, sometimes you need different tools for different parts of the job. So I also have a separate set of drivers with some separate metric bits, and you can get these online. It's funny enough, it's actually kind of hard to find a full set of metric bits that goes all the way to the right size. But if you hunt around a little bit, you can find them on eBay or Amazon. and it's not that big a deal. But so these guys are a bit of a lifesaver. So I use that with my nice Ryobi nut driver here, and then I also have extensions. This here is a 7mm, so I don't necessarily have to crack this one. Just put it with the kit. That works pretty well. And then as you're taking things apart, it's amazing how much dirt and crud gets up into all sorts of crevices that you don't really see in a otherwise clean looking vehicle. So I also have a set of brushes. This is just a detailing brush. It's just kind of cute. You twist it and it comes out, and that way I can adjust it to brush out and all the little nooks and crannies. And then I also have this guy. This is one of my favorite little tools, and like it's a toothbrush. Yeah, but it's a Colgate Sonic toothbrush, and there's several brands that do this, but basically you push the little button and it vibrates at like several thousand hertz, so you can hear it vibrating. Okay guys, so I did a quick little camera change to get ready to do the shoot. So in order to do this properly, I figure I need to go ahead and have both hands free. But this is a great used toothbrush is a great tool to go ahead and get all the dirt out of the little crevices and everything. But these guys especially, and like I said, there's a Colgate one, and then there's also Oral-B makes one too that have the vibrating feature. So you probably can't see it actually vibrate, but this, because it's vibrating so quickly, it just blasts dirt and stuff from all sorts of little crevices. So it just makes the cleanup job a whole lot easier after a run. But for this purpose as well, getting into tight spaces and cleaning off the bearings, that's never a bad thing, because you don't want dirt and grit getting inside of your bearings. That's bad. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing that you need to do is, well, at least the first thing I'm going to do, because like I said, this vehicle's a little bit different than stock, is I'm going to go ahead and start tearing down all my extra support bracing off of here. So I'll just go ahead and move forward a little bit. So this, you could say, was maybe a little bit unnecessary, but I'm a strong believer that having a nice rigid platform, it just helps everything work better. So it doesn't cost any extra money. It's amazing, these little XL1 braces, you can get them from like Dollar Hobby and other places online for like a couple bucks. So, oh, one other little thing, if you don't have one of these guys, a magnetic parts holder, these are a lifesaver. So it's probably better to start off your project with this empty, so you can just keep track of what you're using for this project. So I'm just going to take a second, empty this out, and then I'll go on. Okay, so this will make life a little bit easier. Empty this guy off. I'm just going to go ahead and store my little screws over here. Just keep track of everything. All right. So and this is the only thing holding up the body mount for the rear, so that just fell right out. So put that back in afterward. Now, for the rear, you actually don't need to take off the rear shock. You don't have to take off the rear sway bar here. Normally, this all comes apart as one big unit, but like I said, since I am doing something different, this just all pops off. Actually, wait a second, I'll do it like this to just make it look a little bit more standard. I can just pull it off by here. now this whole brace comes off as a unit. I'll just go ahead and set it aside. And just to keep track of the screws, I'm going to put these guys back in the holes. And I'm just starting to thread a little bit. This is just to keep track of them so it doesn't have to be tightened down. Alright, so at this point, you know, other than some cosmetic differences, you know, this is basically a stock slash. So now I'll start by pulling off the front end. So again, if you have a vehicle with an anti-roll bar system installed, then you will need to at least loosen up these front guys here. And this is the 2.5mm. Change bits. So all I need to do is just loosen it just a little bit, and that gives enough room so that this can now come off as part of the assembly. So now these two bolts need to come out, and I don't have to feel shy about taking them off now. Give it a little bit more torque. Now keep in mind that there's different size bolts for the front and back, so just keep track of which ones came from where. Okay, so that's, remember I said there's 5 bolts, so that's 2. So now you need to flip this guy and get to the other 2. So the other 2 connect to this point right here. So you still access it from the top. I just want to show you where we're going to be coming from. So those guys are right here and right there. So to get to that, I need to use an extension. So as I was saying, the front clip is secured by these 2 bolts right here and by these 2 bolts right here. Now these guys are a little bit deeper in the pocket, so I'm going to have to resort to use my extension to get down there to them. Again, it's not a big deal. So there, and you see this is a shorter one. Alright, so like I said, there's 5 bolts securing this thing on. So you got those 2, these 2, and then you have the arm for the steering, which I guess you could say is the steering arm. So I always find it's a little easier to get at that guy, you know, once you just pull off the front clip. So let me just go ahead and wrestle that guy out. Just pull these little supports down, and then this guy just kind of pulls out like that. Now technically I don't even really need to pull this off, just, you know, I prefer not to accidentally screw up something. So there's the arm right in there. Now I could pull it off right here at the servo housing as well. Let's see. But so I'm just kind of looking at this a little bit more closely. I could pull it off right there on the horn, but it's a pain to try to get these things back in alignment. Well, it's not that hard, but I just figured doing it this way is just as simple. So let me here to give it better access, and that's a smaller bit. It looks like 2. Yep. This guy pops right off. Alright, so now I successfully pulled off the front clip. Got my screw down in here. Alright. So I think it makes most sense to break up this video into 3 parts. First being, you know, the general teardown like we saw right there. And then I'll conclude this here, and my next segment will go into tearing this guy down, because there's a lot of bearings inside of here. So in order to get access to it, I'm going to have to go in to the hub, the axle carriers, and then inside the differential. So there's a lot of tear down left to be done. So on that note, I'll go ahead and call this one a day and tune in for the next part. As always, guys, remember the mantra: fly, fix, fly, break it, fix it, do all again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this detailed teardown series. And then, you know, keep tuned for the full results so you get to see how effective these things work. All right, guys, take care. Next time. Peace.